So it still kind of applies. But what else? This also kind of applies to kind of what you spoke with today, or spoke to, I should say, Joe.
Yeah.
That would be the superintendent of public instruction, kind of talking about content in schools, but kind of in a broader fashion.
Yeah, and it's certainly on their radar, what Andrew was just talking about. Of course, there are libraries inside schools. But yeah, speaking with Superintendent of Public Instruction, Debbie Critchfield today, she's now into year 2 of her term, and a little bit of a rerun from last year to kick off 2024. Governor Little made it clear in his State of the State address this week, education in Idaho is a top major priority. Idaho education made headlines locally and nationally for a variety of reasons in 23, and Superintendent Critchfield says that she feels like we've already hit the ground running this week with the State of the State and lawmakers getting to work on it.
In some ways, it feels like we just took a weekend off from sine die of 2023, and everyone's coming in. Many of the same topics, many of the same issues that either paused or just got more steam. And so I think we'll see a lot of those same things come up along with some new ones.
Big topic of conversation last year was school choice. It looks like it'll be a big conversation this year. When you heard the governor say in his address that he wants to expand school choice, he wants to really embrace it, but he also wants to protect the public school system, how did you take that comment?
I agree with it. And something that I have said over time, I don't think that those things are mutually exclusive. We have an incredible amount of school choice in Idaho. I will protect and defend and honor a parent's right to make a decision of where their child goes to school. Then we get into this conversation of, is the state of Idaho required or have an obligation to pay for every single choice that I have? And so I think that that's what's going to be debated.
And those vouchers, the ESAs, they didn't end up working out last year, but we understand there'll be some new pitches this year. One of them involves tax credits, $5,000 tax credits. What are your impressions of this idea and kind of the conversation surrounding it?
Well, I think one of the reasons this issue wasn't, didn't make it to the finish line in some ways was because it wasn't the right fit for Idaho. We have a lot of people from out of state groups and other education entities that come in and say, hey, Idaho, we think you should do this. And I love that Idahoans say, yeah, that's not exactly the right fit that we have for us. Now, tax credit, I think, is sort of morphing or evolving some of that conversation. A consideration that I will be weighing, when you do a tax credit, you're taking right off the top, which means there's less money to go not only to education, but to transportation, for roads, for corrections, for health and welfare. So you're reducing the amount of money that's in that pot.
CRT conversations, DEI, content. With the controversy surrounding education in recent years in Idaho, does that make your job, I guess, more difficult, or is it kind of just, this is what I have to deal with?
A little bit of both of those things. Sometimes I don't want to ever devalue a legitimate concern that a parent or a policy or policymaker or legislator has. With that said, sometimes we find ourselves chasing on things that turn out to be nothing, or maybe more was told, or kind of this game of telephone. But I sure hope that we can get this focus back to how we're preparing kids. We want our kids to be able to read. We're going to talk a lot at our office and myself about getting back to basics.
And getting back to basics is also part of the conversation of addressing COVID learning loss. Brian, that is something that their office is tracking very closely. And it's not just about what's going on in the classroom, it's getting kids in the classroom. To be very honest, Superintendent Critchfield and I talked about the fact that there are some schools in some areas where getting back in the classroom has been a little bit of a difficult situation after being remote, after being out of the building for so many years. So she said it's back to basics in the sense of people got to get their homework done. We got to get back into the classroom. And there's a lot of, I guess, ideas out there on how to fix that. But most importantly, Critchfield was talking to me about math scores, for example. Those need to get boosted up here in the state of Idaho. And I know that's something the legislature is watching as they weigh this idea of, I guess, outcome-based funding.
I know it's kind of was hard to get her to weigh down, or I guess to kind of pin her down on her opinion on this new tax credit thing, but that's an interesting take that, yes, it does take money out of other pools as well, not just education. So we'll see how that goes forward. Thanks, Joe.